Hello, hello, hello. So today I want to go over my brief review of the Arteza 60 watercolor premium set. I got these on Poshmark, so pre-owned for $40, I believe. 45. I think I got them for $45, which is okay. I didn't realize when I ordered them how many of these colors are mixed with white. So I looked them up after I got excited and ordered them and realized that they might not be the best for actual watercolors, but there was no way to cancel the order. So I'm going to go ahead and review them anyway, because I do think there are uses for these. I've already used them once with my daughter, who is 6, and she loved them. She got really excited about all the colors. And you can see how bright the colors are going to be, just like, or at least the variety from the packaging. You know, there's this, which she didn't care about, but then when she looked at the actual tubes and she could see how many different colors there were, she did get excited about that. So I was able to get her involved, where previously she was not necessarily willing to get excited and come and do my watercoloring with me. So it was nice to get to bond with her over that. These really perform, for the most part, a lot more like gouache because of the white paint. They're pretty opaque overall. There are only 11 or 12 single pigment colors, and I'm sorry, I don't really count white as a single pigment color. Like, it's not a color. So the ones that are in here, some of them are Fugitive, so I wouldn't use those for any kind of professional painting anyway. However, there are a few colors that are just gorgeous. I know I'm going to have fun with these. They really would be wonderful if you want to do something like illustration or ink drawings with pen and watercolor together. I think that would be beautiful. So what I've done, I want to show you the way the packaging works. So this is the base of the box, and there are all these little trays. So I've got them organized the way I want them, not the way they came in the box. And they just fit really nicely in here. For so many tubes, this is a really nice compact way. So I do like this packaging a lot. I heard that from other reviewers on YouTube, and that is definitely true. I've gone through and done just a color check. I wouldn't call it a swatch of any kind. In fact, I'm not going to be doing true swatches today. But I have gone through and checked the color on everything, just so that I could get them in what I considered to be a useful order for storage. They dry down pretty quickly. These dots right here, the blue dots, I did just minutes ago, and you can see there's still, you know, quite a bit of paint unused on them, and they're almost dry. They crack really badly in the pans. So if there was a color, for example, I really enjoyed this green here. If this color, and this one didn't have white in it, if I wanted to put this in a palette, I would have to use an additional binder or use it straight out of the tube. I could not put these into a palette, and like you can see here, this one had extra, and I can just pick it off. So, you know, obviously don't want that, because I want my paintings to look finished and not like there's little bits and pieces if I happen to have a place that's thicker. So don't think it's going to be amazing for layering. I would treat these almost like coloring with a paintbrush, honestly. But they are beautiful. So I'm going to just go through the colors really quickly, tell you a little bit about each shade as quickly as I can. So I've just made this up with the smallest amount of information that I could put on the paper to go back and identify the color, which is the actual color name from, or color number from Arteza. So we'll just get started. I am not going to be doing any kind of lifting or anything like that. I noticed that the ones that I tested it on, the lifting did not go particularly well, and I think it's just because they are so opaque. Okay. I mean, you can water them down. You can see that that doesn't look excessively opaque. Let me, in fact, really quickly, I will just add a couple of lines through here. It won't give us an exact understanding of the opacity, but it will show us if it's completely opaque, so that will be helpful. I love these pens, by the way. They work just as well as the couple of micron pens that I have. And I found these at Ross, Dress for Less, but I've definitely seen them at other discount stores. It was a pack of several, and they had, you know, the sizes on them, so they go from 0.1 all the way up to like a bold marker. They do not run. Wonder and Weiss, graphic, fade, and waterproof. And they were really inexpensive. I think I paid maybe $8 for the whole set. So if you ever see these in like a Marshalls or a TJ Maxx or something, I would grab them because they're an amazing deal considering how much bleed-proof markers can cost. Okay. And I don't do this in any way but my own. I know that there are all kinds of ways that people like to swatch things out, but I wanted them in the order that if I were looking for a color while painting, that it would be very easy to identify if a color was going to work for me. Okay. All right. See, I'm glad I did that because that opacity, it's not nearly as chalky and thick as I expected. So these first two colors I forgot to mention. The first one is Naples Yellow, and it has white and PY1 in it. And PY1 is notoriously Fugitive, so it's a very, very pretty color. I mean, that'd be lovely for some florals. This one is PY3, and that's Lemon Yellow. I would definitely use it just for illustration purposes. This next one is straight PY1, so Fugitive. This one's Yellow Pale. But they would be fine, you know, for something that's not going to be out in the sunshine, something that you don't need to be, that you're not selling or giving as a gift, perhaps. Because the yellows are beautiful. Definitely beautiful. And if you hear a noise in the background, I have a space heater going. It is a misty sort of day here. We're expecting some snow tonight, and it is getting colder by the minute. So although I have a main heater out here in my studio, I just don't want to have to fool with wearing a coat at the moment. All right, this is the Yellow Ochre, and it is PY42. So any of the single pigments, which there are very few, I've put an asterisk next to. This is fine. You know, it's not nearly as pretty as some of the yellow ochres I have in my other collections, but it works just fine, and I would not hesitate to use it. The next one is Gamboge, which is a yellow and orange mix. That bothers me a lot less than the fact that they put white in a lot of these colors. Now, it's normal to need to mix, but I don't need white in everything. I'd rather get smaller tubes and get pigment without the white, honestly. Okay. Yeah, that one stated that it is semi-transparent, and I would agree with that. All right, the next one is Light Apricot. It is a white and PY42 mixture. And it says it's opaque. Oop, oop, I think I got a little too much, and I would say yes, that looks opaque. I'll bring my page over here in case I get some excess. I can just kind of pick it up. Oop, and lay it down over there. Yes, that is quite opaque. In fact, I think at one point I kind of wanted to put that. Oh, and I did. Perfect. Yeah, we're going to go into what I consider the skin tones next. And that one, although it is a yellow 42, to me it really looks like the start of the skin tone. Okay, so next I'm going to move my yellows away. Goodbye, friends. And we've got the skin tones. This ballerina pink is really, really pretty. I wouldn't use it straight as a skin tone for almost anyone. unless it was something quite stylized. But this one is made of white, red 21, and black 11. It's very opaque, as you can see, and you can really see how like it compares to gouache in that way. But what a beautiful color. It's very shiny at the moment, but as they dry down, you can really see it's ballerina pink, and I think that's so accurate. It reminds me of a worn pair of point shoes. Next is Apricot or Apricot. This one is orange, 13, and white. Also claims to be opaque. And it looks like that's accurate at first glance. Like I said, I don't want to pour these out into a palette and waste a lot, so that's why I'm just trying to put dots on the page, because I know that if I pour them out, they will just crack and crumble and be very, very hard to re-wet. Next is Peach. This one is white, orange 13, and red 21. Also opaque. Okay. There is some really interesting color variation between the reds and the browns and pinks in this collection. This is tan, white, black, yellow 42, and red 101. Make sure I'm on the right number. Yep, A280. We're moving on down the page. This one I think would look really nice with that ballerina pink. They really just remind me of some like nice muted Degas painting colors. Very opaque, that one. And that's the challenging thing. These are the skin tones, and because they are all so opaque, I think that the layering would be pretty difficult in trying to do a portrait. White, yellow 42, black, and red 101. This is latte brown. Opaque. Ooh, I don't know why that's so hard to re-wet. That I need to get a little more because it is not an accurate representation of what is in this tube at all. That's quite a bit closer to reality. You would definitely need, if you're wanting to do some layering with these, you would need very, very high quality paper because they are so heavy that you're going to weigh your paper down pretty quickly, I think. On the upside, they don't stay very wet. This is Toffee, which is white, black, and brown 6. Yep, there's the other heater coming on. It's funny, because it moves so much air, it actually feels colder for a little while. Okay. And that one is pretty opaque. I'm not going to bother to take any more out, but you can see, I think. All right. Next, there are some in this section here that I think are so beautiful. The next one is Sepia, which is red 6, black, and white. This is not one of my favorites, but I actually like it quite a bit for a sepia. It would make some lovely tree trunks in the darkness. Great shadow color, I think. It almost has a violet tinge to me, which is certainly not in the formulation, but it has a really neutral quality. A little bit red, but to me it reads cool. Raw Umber is next. Red 6 and yellow 42. Interestingly, this is opaque. Isn't that nice the way they snap in there so nicely? Like, I don't feel like they're going to go crazy if I put them in my backpack in that box. They should stay. Yeah, quite opaque, but very nice and warm. Looks to me like a, I don't know, the base of a double chocolate chip cookie. Okay, there we go. This one is Wineberry, White, Red 13, and Brown 6. And this is one of them that I just think is gorgeous on its own. It is what it says it is. It looks like a wine color. Very opaque, however. You can see, well, as you can see, the line is pretty much gone now. So now that those are drying down, I'll pull them up so you can get a better idea of the actual colors. Come on. Yeah, that wine, I mean, it just has a shine to it that a lot of them don't. Because they dry so chalky, a lot of the colors kind of get muted. But that one is really nice. This next one is also a wine color. Bordeaux Red. This is Red 101, White, and Brown 6. And although these are not what I would consider skin tones, look at how opaque that is. Very pretty. Although these are not skin tones, they are, to me, really natural colors and belong more in this series than in the pinks, because the pinks in this set are very bright. This next one's Burnt Umber, 42 yellow and BR, so brown 6. And you can see in this entire series, we don't have any single pigment colors. And typically you might get one or two very opaque again. I feel like I'm on repeat, but at least the colors are nice. This is Burnt Sienna, Red 101, Brown 6. Got a little much there. Get rid of some of that. A little too much. And some of them have a nice flow. I mean, I would not try to do any kind of wet on wet application of most of these. I did use some on a painting that I'm working on currently with my husband, and I believe maybe I took it inside, but I was doing the sky and the ocean portion with these colors, and they blended okay, but they did not glaze well at all, like at all. Okay. Next, we're going to start into our blues. Yay! So this first one is an ice blue, which is a white and PB29. It's interesting. It's a color that actually I think is pretty hard to mix, so I'm okay with having this. It almost, if you leave it really light, so it's very opaque, like super opaque, but I'm going to put it on the paper here as light as I can because it almost reads like a lilac. It's so delicate, and I realize on screen you can't see that. But if I were going to do full swatches, you know, you could assume from the way the rest of these look that it would be pretty opaque, but you can get it pretty thin. And if I could get it to do it, which maybe if I added a little bit of binder, I think I could get it to flow nicely, that would be lovely for glazing. Okay, this is Sky Blue, which is a white, blue 29 and blue 15. Very opaque, but again, I'll pick some of that up and you can see that it has some movement, which is hard to see with a lot of colors, but I think with blue, it's almost like our eyes expect to see movement. That it has a little bit of granulation to it, actually. Messy, messy. They were looking so nice and square. This is Stone Blue. Next one, it is White, B15, G7, and Black 11. It's like the way that jeans look in like 70s films to me. Very opaque. It has a green tinge. I just want to kind of show you there. very denim. I would not call it stone really at all. Next is Cerulean. This one has white in it, unfortunately. Green 7 and blue 15. It is pretty though. I think this is the one that I tried to use on my painting. This is one of the colors I used. Very opaque, so definitely not for the glazing purposes, but it has a lot of color for being watered down with the white. I'm impressed that it has that much pigment to it. Aegean blue is next. White B15 and black 11. I'm not sure, because I can't re-wet them very well, I'm not sure how pigmented they would look re-wet. But like I said, I wouldn't work with them that way anyway. So now you can see a little bit more of the difference between those now that we've got some contrast. That A114 there, that's the one I said looked like denim. I think it's showing up a bit better now. Okay, next is Ultramarine. This one, it says, is transparent. We shall see. And it is a single pigment. So we did have, why did I put, I don't know why I marked those, because they are definitely not single pigment. I'm on, oh no, I started the wrong colors. These belong down here. Well, snap. I guess what I'll do, let's test the lifting of these. What a joke. Okay. All right, so I started correcting my mistake here, and it actually is just really kind of ripping up my paper, trying to get all of that up. But, you know, it wasn't completely staining, so that's nice. I'm going to let that part of my paper dry, and then I'll just come back up and lay the other color on top. I think it'll be fine. We'll see. For now, we're going to move on down to this next line. So this was supposed to be the ends of my oranges and reds. I don't know what possessed me to put blue there. I guess I just excited about the blue. So we're going to go down to pinks, and I'm going to check my number, and it is indeed 216. This one is Bubble Gum. White, red 21, and then this neon pink has a special number on it, which is really long. I'm not going to read it. But I know it is Fugitive. So most of these pinks are not permanent. All right. Pretty opaque, but can be watered down. It is a really nice bright color, and I will say that I have a hard time getting bright pinks without using a Fugitive pigment. Even Daniel Smith's Opera Pink is considered Fugitive, so what are you going to do? If that's the kind of painting I'm going for, then so be it. Next is Blush. This one has white and red 21 in it. It's not a big mix of colors if you needed to try to mix a brighter purple or something, which you probably don't need to because there's a lot of purples in the set, but you could probably go to this one and be all right. Next is Rose, which is white, V23 and V19. Their names are very different in general from a lot. Now look at that. This one is semi-transparent, and I think it is actually really gorgeous. I just kind of want to play with it, you know. You can see it has more movement than the others. Yeah, and a bit more of a glow to it as well. Yeah, now that the ones on the top lines have dried down, I think it's really easy to see how cakey and chalky they kind of are. And this is just Canson 140-pound paper, so pretty basic. I wouldn't waste good paper, I think, unless I was trying to do something that I was going to, you know, make prints of. But it's also not like I'm using terrible paper, and that's why it looks like this. So this is that really Fugitive neon color, and man, it is a shocker. but everybody needs a super bright one in there, I think, for mixing. I love it. I love it. I love it. Hello, hello, neon pink. Okay, on to purples. Next is Violet Tulip, White 6, Black, Red 21, and Violet 23. This one's a pretty chalky color. I think it doesn't add a lot. I'm not sure I would ever use this color, but it could also go really nicely with that ballerina color up there and that one there. They could make a really pretty tricolor set maybe and do some kind of, you know, study with those colors. I think they would look nice together. I'd have to look at the pigments again to make sure that I'm right about that. But all right, next is Mauve, White, Black, and 23, Violet 23. Very opaque, if I recall. The good news is that because I don't feel like these are precious in any way, but they are good enough and have enough movement on the paper. They're easy to pick up the color. I think that it'd be a great way to learn about, you know, more about like the drawing and the shapes and color selection. I mean, you can't learn color mixing with these, but I do think they're really good to do with my daughter. So I have tried to get her to watercolor with me several times. And let me interject for a second. The next one is Lavender. It's got white PV23 and PV6, which is interesting. I don't see a lot of that in my sets. I've tried to get her involved. And, you know, if you're using a really cheap beginner set, it can be so frustrating. And these are not frustrating to work with at all. They're just not for the type of painting that I prefer to do. Lilac, this one's white and PV23. Oh, I forgot to put my little asterisk next to the violet, which is next. I want to give credit where credit is due, and that is a single pigment color. Look at this, though. I really loved this when I first put it on the paper. It reminds me of like a black light almost. And the other one is the same way. It's just so dark. You have to do a really, really light coating to get to see the value of that purple. Man, what a purple. I'll show you again once it dries down. Okay. So as I said, this next one is the single pigments. It's the same as the one I just did, except it does not have any white filler in it. I'm going to take quite a bit of that up and try to get this thin and transparent, because that will give you, I think, a better look at how pigmented and beautiful that is. Yeah, really lovely. It has a nice blue, cool texture, which sounds weird. That's not normally a texture, but okay. Now, I think, no, where are we supposed to go next? Okay, since I messed up before, I went ahead and moved these down to here. So I've got those all put out, and I still really like this color, even though it's very faint. It doesn't have a lot of pigment, but I can see uses for that. You can see those pinks and purples as they've started to dry down. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, so we'll continue our blues. We're on to Cobalt. This one is white and 15. Okay, and here's another single pigment that I did not give credit to. I think I must have gotten in a hurry, which I don't know why. It is Saturday. It is quiet. My kids are asleep. There we go. That's really pretty, which tells me that the Phthalo, which is just PB15, is our next color, is going to be so nice. Come on, in. focus, please? Thank you. Remove some of that. Oh yeah, that is a nice phthalo. Look at that. And that one is semi-transparent, thank goodness. So one I wouldn't mind pulling into another palette. Prussian Blue is next, and that is Blue 15 and Violet 23. Oh, that's a lot. I got a lot. Okay. Just scoop a bit of that over here. And I just love, and you can't really tell, I don't think, but as soon as I added a little bit of water, this color just came to life. I think of Prussian as being a little bit deeper, a little bit moodier than this one. To me, this is almost just a slightly richer phthalo, but it is very pretty. Okay, next is Indigo. And this is one of my favorite colors to paint with. I actually have not tried this one yet because I knew it was dark, so I didn't bother putting it on my other paper there. So I'm interested to see what it looks like. Ooh, I like that. I like that. It could easily be semi-transparent. It is not chalky to me at all. Because it doesn't have any white in it. And you can see, like, I can kind of push the water around on that one. It didn't just soak it all up. Next is Gray, which is just a black and white mix. Let's see if it's, I'm hoping it's a nice neutral gray. It looks kind of cool at first glance. Pick that up. That's too much. Yeah, I wouldn't use this as a darkener of any kind. I wouldn't use it, to tint anything down because, man, that may be the most opaque pigment we've had yet. I almost can't see the line at all. The only one I think might be darker is this burnt sienna up here. Next is Taupe, which is white, black, and a little bit of red. So maybe slightly warmer. Haha, but they put a ton of white in that. Look how light it is. Man. But I bet, oh yeah, this is another one of our ballerina colors. Interesting. It has a slightly pinkish tinge. Definitely. Okay. All right, is this dry enough? I think I will flip my paper over temporarily. I'm going to come up here because these are dry and put these in. So my first one is this Spiced Apple, which is probably my favorite color in the set. And it was also really hard to place. It could have gone in several of the color families, I think. It has white, orange 13, and red 21. And hopefully we get a nice idea. It is very opaque, but I really love this. It's like coral, but not pink, which is hard to do. I mean, that is just such a beautiful, to me, true coral color. Ah, man, okay. Focus. Look down here. Down here. There we go. Look at that. That is easily like the most vibrant color on the page. Man, look at my squares there. They just get bigger and bigger. Next is 215, Saffron Orange, and this one is Yellow 1 and Orange 13. So reminder again that pink yellow one is Fugitive. I'd have to do my own light fast tests because they do say that it's highly light fast, and maybe there's something they did with the bindings, but yeah, I wouldn't risk it. All right, you know what? That's not so bad. The paper is a little bit torn up, but you can see the color. It's a nice color. It's warm. I think that one is semi-transparent. It says it's not. This next one is a single pigment color. It's orange yellow, and it's made from orange 13. Woo, I got too much. And it is UT Orange, University of Tennessee. Like, it is just Halloween orange. It's not a bad thing to a lot of people. It's definitely my least favorite color in the world. Don't know that I'd ever use that unless it was florals. The next one is also single pigment. It's an orange red Po34, and it says that it is not light fast, which actually this entire series of single pigment colors all say they're not light fast. So that's really unfortunate that all three here say that they're not light fast, which is, you know, like I said, that's sad, because I don't know why I took these out. Oh, that one doesn't go in there. There we go. Don't want to get myself confused. Let's spread this puppy out. I'm going to leave it pretty thick because that blue underneath, we're not going to get a perfect sense of the color, but you can see that it is a good bit darker than the single pigment before it. Okay. Next is Vermilion Pr4. This one, it claims to be semi-transparent. And the fact that we're not getting any mixing with that blue that's underneath on the paper kind of, to me, speaks to the way the paints work. Next is Scarlet Red Pr21. This one claims to be light fast, unlike the others there, and it is a single pigment color. And I actually think that's a nice scarlet. It is just a tick darker, a tick warmer than the orange before it. Next is Crimson Red. I just really didn't know where to put this guy. He could have gone up here. No, no, no. He's perfect where he is. Look at that. And it is also really pretty. This one is Red 21 and Red 13 combined. And I really like this color. If it is as light fast as it says it is, I would use that again, because that is a true fire truck red. So now I can flip my paper back around, and the only thing we really have left, I'm not going to swatch. A101 is titanium white. I'm not going to swatch that. I don't even know why they needed to include a white in this palette, but this is the black, and they call it Noir, and it is from Black 11. And it is a great opaque black. It's almost like ink. It is so dark. Okay. And last, but certainly not least, are the greens. The greens in this set, there are some that I think are stunning, and then the rest are just weird. They're very unnatural colors, which, you know, kind of lends itself to the rest of the palette. This first one I think is quite minty, but they call it Jade Green. And I'm not going to read off everything on the greens because there are no single pigments in here. In fact, most of them are a mix of like 4 or even 5 pigments. So I would not do any mixing at all with any of these greens. It would just be too much of a hassle to try and have to figure out what I could mix with and not get mud. See, to me, that's pretty minty. There is a mint green in here, and it, to me, does not look minty. Next is Eucalyptus. They're all opaque as well. I can go for Eucalyptus on this one. That's all right. It's like the underside of the leaf. You can water them down. I tried, and they water down all right. You know, you can get a gradient. But because of that dry, chalky texture, you got to work fast. Because once they dry, they kind of dry, and they'll get streaky if you try to mess with them a lot. Sage Green is the next color. And it kind of sits in between some of these others, which, you know, they did give a lot of greens, and I guess that's good since we can't mix any more. So for like fantastic landscapes, these would work. Next one is mint. So as I said, I think it's a little strange. I mean, maybe if we're talking about like an Andes mint, nah, it's still not that color. This is like Kelly green to me. It looks a little bit gray on camera. It's not. It's highly pigmented. It's a pretty color. Not sure why they're coming off the color they are. That might be a little bit better. Next is pear green. You know, I'm seeing that eucalyptus, the second one here, could actually probably work in the skin tone family. I have some of that color in my skin. All right, there's pear green. Next is olive. See how nicely those stack? That's just beautiful. Okay. I made these little pots that I'm using for my water. I made them in a pottery class. There is an artist guild here where I live in Murray, Kentucky, and I love them so much. I had nothing like this in Lexington where I lived before. If we did, it was not well known. One thing about living in a small town like this one that's got kind of an artistic quality to it anyway, I love that it's easy to get involved in things and not feel like everything is already too crowded. We have a really active local theater company that I have some friends who are part of, and I really enjoy going to their shows. They're really high quality and, you know, basically cost you nothing to go to. By the way, this is Viridian, this one here. It's pretty, really unnatural, very pretty. Next one is yellow 3 and green 7. So about as close as we're going to get to single pigment, and it is lime. And man, it is real lime. It's almost neon. Doop, doop. Look at that. I think if you wanted to get like sunshine on a, you know, like dappled sunshine on the tops of trees or something, you could do something really pretty with. Oh, I need some more of that because that does not do it justice. It is opaque, so I think this one I could layer pretty well. It's coming across on camera as kind of inconsistent, but it's not. It's pretty. And so I found the art guild here, and they're the nicest people. They have some artists and residents there. And there's a guy who teaches pottery, and it's only $100 for 5 classes, which is incredible. So I took the class in the fall, and I was able to make 4 in those 5 weeks. I was able to make 4 usable items. So I have my little pots. This is my mistake pot. You can see he's lopsided. I didn't secure him to the wheel before I started the wheel, so he flew across the room. But we were able to repair him and salvage him. There is nothing quite like holding something in your hands that fits your hands perfectly. I mean, I just think, oh, look at that. It literally fits my hands. To me, that's the beauty of art, is, you know, we all have this being inside of us, and it's very hard to let other people, or even yourself, really get to know who you are inside. And when you do art, creative things, you're really showing that side of yourself. That doesn't, I think, come out in everyday conversation. I mean, maybe if your inner person is not at all a creative person, then maybe you don't need to do creative things. But 167, so this one is green and yellow as well. and it's just called light green. But when you do creative things, you're just showing the world who you are. And I could really feel that when I made that pot. It was like, it just fit so perfectly. And, you know, if someone were to pick it up and hold it, they are feeling my hands. They're holding my hands in a way. I just found it to be very poetic. So I'm going to take that class again in a couple weeks. It's going to start back up, and I'm so excited because it's very physically demanding. So if you're ever shopping for some pottery dishes or something handmade, by all means, they cost way more in time and effort and pain than what you're paying. I guarantee it. Because no one would be able to afford pottery if you paid what you ought to pay for the effort that goes into it. Now this color I think is gorgeous. This is deep green. It is green 7 and blue 15. And man, what a color. Look at that. I'm going to give that one a little bit more room because he's just pretty. My brush is able to pick up plenty of pigment from these. You can see I can, you know, I can just keep going. I could pull this down and really, you know, it's a very cooperative paint. I'll just give you a little bit. Let's do a little experiment before we wrap it up here. I want to see, this is that crazy lime green. Let's see what happens. I want to put this side by side with that insane pink, man. What is going to happen there? Whoop. I don't know if we can mix with the sucker or not. I mean, I won't put pink in it, but man, I wish I could get that to show up on camera. Come on, man. And we'll just take this phthalo since we know it's single pigment. I'm just going to set it down next to it and see how they do together. That one is almost dry already. That happened super, super fast. Ooh. All right, you can't see it yet, but there's some things happening here. Look at that. That is really pretty. Like really, really pretty. So maybe I should take back what I said before about glazing. Maybe with the right paints, the right colors. I mean, that looks like magic. Magic. I mean, that's beautiful. I obviously need to experiment with these a lot more. This is pretty much my, not first impression, but second impression. And the white being in everything definitely affects the paint. And I can't change that fact. I've heard that from other reviews. And this is that spiced apple that I love. Come on, camera. Can we focus, please? Focus. There we go. This is that spiced apple that I just love so much. Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to call that it for now. If you enjoy bright colors and you don't really want to have to mess with mixing, this is a very affordable set. Even if you don't get it for a deal like I did, you can pick these up on Amazon for like $60 or $70, depending on, you know, when you pick them up. Just put them in your cart and watch the price on them. I think that they're worth $50, if only just for the sheer amount of them. You're still paying less than $1 a tube, which is phenomenal. And they are far and above better than, you know, drugstore or Walmart paints. I've not really gotten to use any of Arteza's other products. I know that some of their markers and their colored pencils are very, very popular. And I'm definitely going to want to check out some of their watercolor pencils. But I would say yes. You know, this paint is really good for the price, and it's really good for bright, fun colors. And I think, I'm going to have to test this, but I think that these would be very nice for layering on top of other paints as detail work. Because they have that white pre-mixed in, it would be very convenient to just pick it up. You know, if you need to do some florals in the front, you know, in the foreground of a painting, it would be pretty simple to do so with these paints. Just to add some highlights or some lowlights, I'm going to say that I'm excited to keep using these, and especially enjoy them with my children because they're going to like them a lot. Thanks for watching so much. If you enjoyed this video, my plan is definitely to do more reviews. I think that everybody could use more opportunities to not waste money on things they don't need to waste money on. And that's kind of what I'm planning on doing from here on out. So feel free to subscribe. I have Paul Rubens. I have some Rembrandt, Daniel Smith, White Knights, which I absolutely adore. I've got the Koi Sakura set. So I've definitely got some others that I want to review here shortly. So subscribe, give this video a thumbs up, and I'll paint with you later. Bye.